First mock draft that I actually feel confident in now that I have witnessed players play at the Senior Bowl, saw coverage from the Shrine Bowl, and then now that the NFL Combine is wrapped up, has a pretty little bow on top, I think now I feel pretty confident in going through our Buffalo Bills 5-round mock draft 1.0. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of Da Mafia Live. I am live regularly Monday through Friday. If you are watching the replay of this episode, I highly recommend that when you subscribe, you turn on bell notifications because I want everyone to be a part of our live chat community. As you guys know, I will be yapping for about 15 to 20 minutes, and then afterwards I resort and I turn to the chat so we can have a pretty damn good conversation because mock draft season is here. All right. We have seen players show out during several opportunities, whether or not that was the Senior Bowl, Shrine Bowl, and now obviously the NFL Combine. So we are going to unpack it, and I'm going to throw you a mock draft 1.0. Smash that like button for me, folks, and give a giant shout out. Join me by shouting out BetUS, the #1 sports book on the face of the planet. Guys, they have everything and anything when it comes into sports, including NFL offseason odds, basketball, ice hockey, baseball, you name it, including all of the NFL specials, which includes predicting where some of these players may land in free agency, which is coming up in about a week. Now, BetUS is currently matching 150% of your first deposit all the way up to $2,000 and also 125% of your second and your third deposit. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring today's video. Now, like I said, guys, we're pulling up the handy dandy PFF mock draft simulator. And again, I do want to go out right before we start this episode by saying I absolutely refuse to walk into any particular round with the mentality of I need to walk away with X position. Okay? I know all of us want a defensive tackle, but I'm going to tell you this right now. If, for example, that Derek Harmon and or Kenneth Grant are not available at 30, then I am going with the next player available. If, for example, that I do not see a top corner that I have a first-round grade on, I am not picking a corner. If I do not see a top safety that I have a first-round grade on, I am not picking a safety. Onward and upward. If the Buffalo Bills get at 30, I do not see us trading up because we need a third-round pick. There's no question about that. We will make that happen. But we are going to mock draft for the Buffalo Bills under the assumption that we are not making a significant trade that is going to allow us to walk away from our first round this year. This is all up to speculation that we do not ship off any other picks in any sort of trade. And here we go. Here we go. I know that PFF, I'm not sure if they have updated their rankings, because I can tell you that a lot of players that were projected to go in the first round may have dropped significantly and vice versa. For players that were typically mocked in the second round, perhaps they have done enough to where they are mocked in the first. However, let's go on ahead and knock this out. Starting the draft, we have it on slow mode, baby. Makes it happen for me. Interesting to begin with. All right, we have Shador, we have Mason Graham, Jahdae Barron, Luther Burden, James Pierce Jr., Ashton Genty, Malachi Starks, Kenneth Grant is gone, Emeka Egbuka, Tyler Warren, Josh Simmons, Walter Nolan, Jihad Campbell, Kelvin Banks Jr., Mike Green, Shamar Stewart, Matthew Golden is off of the table, a fan favorite. Derek Harmon is off of the table. Demetrius Knight, Jalen Walker is off of the table. Now, let's see if PFF has changed at all since the NFL Combine. Have the Giants going with Travis Hunter. So PFF must be thinking, that a lot of teams are waiting on a QB, right? And maybe the New York Giants are going for a free agent. Then Abdul Carter, then Will Campbell. Shador actually ends up going, at the 6 overall for the pick 6. But let me point out a couple of players that I would have jumped on if they fell to 30. All right. And anything could happen. This is a simulator for a reason. And let me tell you who I would have went for almost immediately. I would have went for Kenneth Grant. 0 questions asked. I would have drafted him. I would have drafted Will Johnson if he fell to 30. And this is really in order as well, folks. Scrolling down, I probably would have ended up going for Shamar Stewart, who was drafted before. I definitely would have went for Derek Harmon, and I definitely would have went with Matthew Golden. So a lot of those players were on my first round draft target. Let's see how the board has fallen, and let's see if we want to actually spend a first round pick, because we can always trade down. I refuse to pick a player that I do not have a first round grade on in the first, because we need a third round pick. So scrolling down, have Omarion Hampton, a halfback. I'm not necessarily big on this one. Nick Scorton, a lot of people are high on this guy. I wasn't too impressed. I'm not too impressed with him. I think that there's some other things that we could be looking at here. Darius Alexander, who had a pretty interesting combine. He is an option for us. You go ahead and take a look. You have 6'4", 310. Darius Alexander, perhaps. Have a couple of players I'm seeing here and there. Jack Beck, Xavier Watts was intriguing. Trey Amos. Love this guy. And Nick, oh my God, in the Eminwari. But I do want to check out a couple of things here. We have the Las Vegas Raiders are interested in trading up for us, right? And we do not currently have a third round pick. So what I'm going to do is I am going to trade down once again. And people are like, Dan, why are you trading down? Because again, I don't really see anybody that is speaking to me. I'm not a big fan of Nick Scorton. I'm not a big fan of Darius Alexander. I don't think that either of them would fit our team. I am passing on both of these guys. So I am going to trade down with the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to take their 37th. I'm going to take their 68th. And then I'm also going to give them a 30th round pick. Our 30th to begin. And then I'm also going to give them a 4th round pick and maybe a pick swap. I feel like a pick swap is pretty intriguing here. Oh, wait a minute. What am I doing? Okay, that right there, Chicago. I will take 108. Bang. So with that being said, let me double check and make sure. Yeah, most definitely. I'm going to go on ahead and I'm going to grab a 3rd round pick. I'm going to walk away with the 131. Let's go on ahead and offer this trade. I think that we're going to be able to knock this out and walk away with a 4th. Trade was accepted. The Las Vegas Raiders now currently have the Buffalo Bills 30th overall pick. We have 3 picks in the 2nd round. I'm feeling pretty damn good about this one. Have Omarion Hampton was taken. Let's go. Zabel, have Darius Alexander. Here is where the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion, can certainly excel. All right. So what I'm looking at are a couple of different players that I think would fit. I love Tyleik Williams. I thought that he had a tremendous NFL combine. He's 6'3", 327 pounds. Solid one-tech defensive tackle. Run defense is there. His pass rush isn't necessarily there, but he's a big body that's going to be drawing quite a few double teams. Should be able to get Ed Oliver going and whatever edge rusher that we bring to the table. I'm going ahead and I'm going to double check and make sure that nobody else really stands out to us here. Maxwell Harrison is also interesting. 4'3", 40, a 4'3", 840, 6'1", 186. I hope that he falls to us when our next pick is going to be at 56. He may not be there. Oh, man. What do I do here, man? What do I do? I think I'm going to have to go with Tyleik Williams on this one. Solid defensive tackle, one-tech defense. I think that he fits into our defensive line perfectly. One of my personal favorite prospects. Welcome to the Buffalo Bills, Tyleik Williams. Scrolling down, let's see. And oh my God, my favorite safety, Eminwari, ended up going right in the 2nd round. But let's see what else we have, because there are quite a few things I think that we can continuously address. All right. So far, we have a defensive tackle in Tyleik Williams, one-tech defensive tackle. I think we can all agree that that was a massive move that the Buffalo Bills needed to address. Now, I'm taking a look at a couple of different players that I think that we could address here, right? Have a couple of dudes at 56, which is intriguing. Have Stewart, which the Buffalo Bills ultimately ended up meeting with. You have Chris Paul Jr., which is interesting. I do like Josh Farmer as well. We're going to go on ahead. We're going to move up a little bit. Knowles coming. I really don't like any of these guys. You have Royals at 87. We can wait for that. However, I'm not going to go with Jaden Higgins. I did like him at the Senior Bowl. 6'4", 215 pounds. Cam Scatabo. I mean, the value is here. Like, this guy was an absolute monster, 21 touchdowns. But I feel like that's redundant at that point. We probably need something else here. Xavier Restrepo is intriguing. I guess you could go Jared Ivey out of Mississippi State, 8 sacks. I'll tell you what. I'm looking at this right now. I'm looking at different edge rushers. Let me go ahead and take a look, see if we have anything else that's standing out to us. No, not seeing any here. I'm going to go wide receivers. I'm going to double check and see if we have anything. Royals is one of my personal favorites. Trey Harris is interesting. Kobe Hudson, Kyle Williams. All right. So with that being said, the next pick we are going to take is Jared Ivey, Ole Miss, edge rusher. 8 sacks, solid pass rush grade, 16.8% off of the edge. We're going to go ahead and take, well, actually, hold on. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at safeties too. Castro, Winston. I have a couple of other players I like. Let me go corners as well, just to double check. Benjamin Morrison is interesting. Kobe Bryant is interesting too. All right. I'll tell you what. We are going to go with Jared Ivey, edge rusher out of Ole Miss. We have stocked up on the defensive line for the first 2 picks of the NFL draft. You have Tyleik Williams as our one-tech defensive tackle, and we have another edge rusher in Jared Ivey, who is standing out to us. Now, next up, we have our 3rd pick in the 2nd round. 3rd pick in the 2nd round is pretty interesting here. Have defensive line, have edge rusher, wide receiver is a need, linebacker is a need, and a cornerback is indeed a need. I'm going to go and look at a couple of options because I'm good on tight end. I'm good on defensive line. We could double dip, but my double dip candidate is not going to be here until a bit later. I'm looking at Stewart. I'm looking at an edge rusher at 71. I feel like I'm reaching here, right? And I look at the Buffalo Bills at 68. I could potentially trade down again. Let me go 76 for the Dallas Cowboys. I think this is intriguing. 76, 62. Give me 150 as well. Let's go. Offer the trade. Dallas Cowboys, you now have the Buffalo Bills pick because I want to stock up, and then maybe I might even trade up a little bit for some of these situations. Here we are, have the Buffalo Bills again. Tyleik Williams, Jared Ivey, edge rusher out of Mississippi. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm really going to start adding to this team right now. We have Chris Paul Jr., who is intriguing. Solid coverage, run defense is there. He's a tackling machine. Needs some of that. 6'1", 235 pounds. We're big Ole Miss people. Or I could go Joshua Farmer as well, who is 6'3", 318 pounds. He could potentially be a dude that we go after. He could be gone if I don't pull the trigger now. Go ahead and take a look at a couple of other guys that are standing out to us here. Royals is there. I think I'm going to wait for Royals. But I think I'm going to go ahead and take this opportunity, and I am going to double dip on the interior defensive line. Oh, my God. I could already imagine what people are thinking. They're like, damn, what are we doing with this draft? Don't worry. We're going to be doing another one. Have no fear. All right. So pick 76. Defensive line, we've really addressed. Tyleik Williams, Jared Ivey, Joshua Farmer. Have quite a few other picks that we're going to be taking a look at. Okay, we're at pick 76, and then we don't pick again until 131. So maybe I'll go ahead and I'll get a pick real fast. And then maybe we'll trade up if there's any player I'm afraid that we could potentially miss out on. We have this. We have Jalen Royals at 87. I think we can knock this out here. I like Jalen Royals a lot. I'm going to check out. I'm going to double check some corners. Anything stands out to me. Dorian Strong, Parrish, Kobe Bryant looked pretty damn good too. I think what I'm going to do here, folks, and some of you are going to say, oh, Dan, this is a reach, but it is not. I love Jalen Royals. He was a hell of a contributor over at the Senior Bowl. Runs a blazing 4.340. Jalen Royals, welcome to the Buffalo Bills. Welcome to the Buffalo Bills, man. Let's rock this real fast. Castro is off of the board. Terrence Ferguson is off of the board. Mason Taylor, Wyatt Mullum, Belton. Oh, man. This and Milrow goes all the way down. Had Deion Walker fall all the way to 98. Have Isaiah Bond, who I wasn't too high on. He's fast, but that's about it. Let's keep on moving. Let's see what we got. Who's on the board? The Saints. What could we do here? I want 131. I'm going to give them 131. We'll also end up giving them 171 and 178. Knock it off. Bang, the Buffalo Bills have ultimately ended up trading up. And let me see if I can find my guy that I was looking for. The safety position, Billy Bowman Jr. I look at where the Buffalo Bills are right now. I was a big fan of this guy. I don't think that he is going to fall that far. He is a possibility. Let me also check out the corner position. Noah Williams, have Zy Alexander, who is O'Donnell Fortune. I'm going to wait for O'Donnell Fortune a little later because I have answers there. So with that being said, let me double check, make sure that we don't have anything different here. Walker is intriguing. Riley Leonard, have some QBs that we could discuss here and there. Barrett Carter, Jack Kaiser, I saw at the Senior Bowl. All right. I think the answer is pretty safe. I'm going to go on ahead. I'm going to go with Billy Bowman, a safety out of Oklahoma. Talk to me. Talk to me. Let's keep going. Let's keep on going here. Now we have the Buffalo Bills at 150. Have a couple of players that are interested. Here's what we are looking at. Tyleik Williams, Jared Ivey, Joshua Farmer, Jalen Royals, Billy Bowman, the safety, free safety, solid in coverage. Somebody I think that would be able to play day one, a heavy sleeper. And we already have wide receiver. We've double dipped that defensive line. Let's look at some quality that we could potentially bring in. I'm looking at some of these guys that are trying to stand out to me. Have O'Donnell Fortune, who I like as the CB2 position. 6'1", 185 pounds. Stats are pretty solid. Solid in the interception category. His coverage is absolutely insane. He's good in man. He's even better in zone. I think this is a McDermott guy. Give me O'Donnell Fortune for the 150th overall pick. Let's take a look. And then our last pick of our mock draft, and have no fear, we are going to be doing another one where we actually do pick one in the first round. Have the Buffalo Bills at 175. And with that being said, have Tootin, who did run a damn 4.340. He's fast, solid elusiveness if Ty Johnson doesn't come back. I'm going to take Byshell Tootin as well. Look at that. This is our draft, ladies and gents. Let's take a look. Going ahead and minimize this bad boy for a second. We ended up taking Tyleik Williams. We traded down with the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's our interior defensive lineman. We have Jared Ivey, edge rusher out of Ole Miss. Then we took Joshua Farmer as well. We traded up with the Dallas Cowboys. We selected Jalen Royals. Got Billy Bowman Jr., have O'Donnell Fortune, and Byshawn Tootin, a running back, out of the way. I am a big Dante Trader fan. Let's talk about this. Ladies and gentlemen, we are looking at the very first mock draft 2.0. And I think a lot of us, and we have JTs liking what we're looking at right now. You know what? I want to make sure that all of us are taking this with a grain of salt, right? Because who in the hell knows what the Buffalo Bills are going to do, right? Like, I have been trading down in each and every single mock draft, but so far, I really like how this would play out. I would not be pissed off at this draft whatsoever. However, one thing I do want to say is I feel that we should do another one. But this time, let's completely change up the mentality. Let's actually go for a first round pick. Let's go for a first round pick and see what these drafts would potentially look like if we didn't have a third. No matter what, I am going to select somebody on the first round and see if things change up. Man, boys, I'm excited. It's mock draft season. Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. Guys, and also, certainly do me a favor, smash that like button if you haven't had an opportunity of doing so far. One more mock draft. Let's knock this out, and then I will get to the chat. Okay. Interesting. This is, oh my God. If this happens, folks, if this happens, and I'm not even doing this against my better judgment, if this dude falls to us, right here, 14 sacks, 20 hits, 6'2", 247 pounds. It's hard for me to say no there. Very hard for me to say no there, folks. Couple of different players. I can't not do this. I can't not do this. I would absolutely have to take this wide receiver. Oh, excuse me. This edge rusher. I would absolutely have to. A game breaker, a game wrecker. Hopefully he's able to really end up bringing his thoughts, his talents right to the NFL year one. As we end up marching down into the second, where are we at? Okay. Interesting. Right now, the Buffalo Bills end up walking away with an edge rusher and Donovan. I think it's the, I'm not even going to try and pronounce the last name. It's the Ezeruku. That's it. Solid edge rusher, solid production. We could potentially go for an interior defensive lineman. Cam Scatabo is also intriguing based off of his production in college. We already have running backs, but he's been impressing. Alfred Collins has met with the Buffalo Bills so far. Solid run defender. He's 6'5", 320 pounds. We could go that direction. Walk away from Ivy. Have a Zaire Thomas, who I also like. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go with Alfred Collins. Let's double check. Interior defensive lineman has met with the Buffalo Bills already, has the size, incredible run defense, solid true pass rush, solid run stop capability. Give me Alfred Collins. Beefing up that defensive line, folks. And as we see, of course, we see with so Azarie Thomas gone. Okay, so we're sitting at 62. We have a couple of players that are interesting. You have a Ben Morrison out of the Notre Dame. I'm good on him. A couple of other players we can look at. Chris Paul Jr. You have Josh Farmer, who we could potentially double dip on if possible. You have Knoll, who is a solid wide receiver. Royals, way too early for Jalen Royals. However, who else wants to trade with us? Okay, so the Eagles really want somebody. Do we even have 96? They don't want that, but I'd give them, I'd take a pick away. We'll offer that one. Accepted. Then here we are. Okay, so now we have a third round pick, which is what I was looking for at 96. I won't feel too bad about this, but let's look at what else we need. Have edge rusher, have defensive lineman. That has already been adjusted. That has already been accounted for. I want to see what else we need between linebacker and corner. Have a couple of CBs. I'm good on Morrison. I wasn't a really big fan of him. Chris Paul Jr. I'm one of the few that really thinks that we are in desperate need of a linebacker, especially since we run a coverage that only calls for 2 linebackers in the first place. So that's really not standing out to me at this point. I'm probably going to go on ahead and take Jalen Royals. I'm going to reach for him at this point because I really like what he can bring to this offense. I don't think he's going in the third round, is where PFF has him projected. So I do think that he will be a second round pick based off of his performances so far. So I'm okay with that pick. I am okay with what we are looking for. 3 more picks. Let's hit it home. What do we have? Tez Johnson, Neal, have Milrow, and look at that. Now we have Bills wide receiver, defensive line. We already have an edge rusher, a defensive lineman, a wide receiver, our third round pick. I want to see what looks interesting here. You have Dorian Strong. He's not my favorite. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, man. I'll tell you what. I am double dipping at the defensive line position, Dion Walker. I am double dipping at the defensive line position. 3 out of the 4 picks so far have been the defensive line. I think that we can all agree that that was our biggest need. Have one of the best edge rushers in the draft. You have Alfred Collins and you have Dion Walker, 2 big men. One of them is bound to work. Hopefully, hopefully this works out. You have Jacob Parrish out of Kansas State. 5'10", 198 pounds. He is obviously a slot guy, which would be redundant at this point. You have Kobe Bryant. He's out of Kansas. Solid run defense. His coverage is decent, I suppose. 4 interceptions. He's 6'1", 175 pounds. He could be somebody that's intriguing that I wouldn't hate to pick. Let me see what else we have. Safety. Couple of guys here and there. I'll tell you what. Kobe Bryant, welcome to the Buffalo Bills. Welcome to the Buffalo Bills. That's what we're looking for. Let's fast this up real fast. And what do the Buffalo Bills have with the 175th overall pick? I'm going to scroll on down. Still no safety available. I'm not going to reach for any of these guys. But what looks intriguing to me, have Danny Stutzman for a linebacker. His run defense is decent. His coverage is absolutely terrible. His run defense is solid. He could be a developmental guy. So perhaps him, but let's see. Tim Smith, tackle. I'm going to have to go with Danny Stutzman out of Oklahoma. And with that being said, look at that, folks. Look at that. Our next mock draft. Alfred Collins, you have Jalen Royals, you have Dion Walker, you have Kobe Bryant, and Danny Stutzman to begin. Sound off in the chat and let me know which mock draft you preferred, the first one and or the second one. It's intriguing, man. It's definitely intriguing because I feel like now we're getting a good sense of players that were overhyped that are no longer getting their first round hype. And there's a lot of players that were slept on leading up into the draft, etc., and figure it all out. But I'm super excited. I would love to double dip at the interior defensive line position. I would be fine at throwing a dart at the wall for a game-changing edge rusher. I'm still crossing my fingers and certainly hoping that it is Myles Garrett, but if not, then we do need to think about it. But we'll see. Man, I am starting to hate drafting a defensive tackle early or at all, unless it's for a top 2, maybe a top 3 defensive tackle. Yeah. So there are some solid prospects in the early second, like not so much late second. So if, for example, we wanted the defensive tackle, we would have to trade down, or by some miracle, we could see a Grant and or a Derek Harmon fall to us at 30, which I think would be interesting. I love that last pick for sure, but I like the first one more. He liked the first draft first. I'm actually fine with that. We better not trade with the Kansas City Chiefs again. So to be completely honest with you, man, like we ultimately ended up seeing Worthy and Keon Coleman have the exact same stat line, and Keon Coleman ultimately ended up missing 4 more games than Xavier Worthy. So it really wasn't as much of a robbery as people want to say. Sure, he had a few good playoff games here and there, but it definitely wasn't a wash, right? Um, we are about to get Mason Graham Danny. JT's coming in. Go best player available, regardless of the position. I like that. Listen, if that's what we need to do, that is what we need to do. Folks, if you are currently watching the replay of this video, I highly recommend that while you're subscribing, you turn on bell notifications because I want you to be able to join our live chat community. In fact, anybody that's tuning in for the first time with our live chat community, please let yourself be known and introduce yourself. Welcome to the family. I go live way too much on this channel. So I'm always welcoming in some new peeps when it comes into it. So I can appreciate that. Dan, I think I'm starting to get on the Matthew Golden train if he is there at 30. 110%. Right, dude? So he's a 4.38 40. He has great route running capabilities and he has wonderful hands, right? Like he just makes the most sense. But like say for example that we have a Derek Harmon or a Kenneth Grant that somehow falls to us at 30, then I'd probably make that a priority. But the likelihood of all three of them being available at 30 is slim to none. And yeah, so we'll see. Bro, we don't need a wide receiver. So I feel like we need somebody that can split the field vertically. It's definitely not at the highest list or the highest priority whatsoever. But to say that we don't need like one more weapon that can win vertically, I wouldn't agree with that. I wouldn't agree with that. Trade or pay for a shutdown corner and an edge rusher. Do whatever in the draft. Allen proved he was like Brady in a sense. It doesn't matter who is around him. Again, like I said, right? Like that's why like I was not a big proponent of us trying to trade for DK Metcalf because we do not need to pay a wide receiver 25 million plus to come to a team that already was number one in scoring in the NFL by itself. I know that we need to plug and play a couple of holes on defense, but I do think that we could use a speedster on this offense to make us that much better. But we shall see. We have Matthew. Bro, we need Sanders. Backbone 5. If Golden is there at 30, the Bills will 100% draft him. They will run to the podium. So I really think that it just matters on who else is on the board. Like, say, for example, that we have a Derek Harmon or we have a Kenneth Grant on the board, then 110%. And look, again, one thing I want everybody to understand, do not walk into a round and say, I need to walk away with a defensive tackle or I need to walk away with an edge rusher because I refuse to reach for a defensive tackle that has no business being drafted in the first round just because we need one. There are quality defensive tackles in the second and the third. Don't you dare waste a first round pick on a defensive tackle that has no business of being drafted in the first round, if that's the case. Here's my draft board. And it's somewhat realistic, right? I have Grant, and then I have Derek Harmon. Then I have Harrison, so the corner out of Kentucky. He's number 3 for me. And this is list of priority. Say, for example, that any of these dudes are available going down the list. Kenneth Grant, then Derek Harmon, then Maxwell Harrison, so the corner out of Kentucky, him, then Matthew Golden, right at 4. And then, so the safety out of South Carolina is, I always forget his last name. It's the Eminwari. I'd say those 5 players rate in order. If none of those players are available right in the first by the time that pick 30 is around, then we trade down. That is my thought process. Grab that third round pick. Who do you think that we would have the best chance of trading up with if Bean made a move? I do not see Bean making a move because we don't have a third round pick. I think that he's going to want a third round pick. But say, for example, that we do. Shit, I don't know. I don't know, my friend. We have Dexy. We have Amari Cooper is gone, so we need an X-man beater and say that we don't re-sign Mac. That's 2 wide receivers gone. I have a feeling that we do run Mac. So I read today that the Eagles are dropping Darius Slay. I'm not even sure. And so if we need him, but would you want him to play for the Buffalo Bills? He's 34 years old. He costs about 7 or 8 million bucks. I'd probably be fine with waiting for somebody in the draft if you were to ask me. Listen, we have to trade a next year second and first and maybe like a couple of backups, draft Mason Graham and Donovan, get a young, promising wide receiver, and we are good. Lynn is saying, okay. And so I will go with the best available guy, but he's got to be a needed position. I totally understand that. I'm fine with drafting best player available, but it has to be from a position of need. I totally understand that, and I do not hate that. Wait, Cooper is gone. Why did we not keep Coop? Because number one, he's not going to be paid enough as far as the Buffalo Bills. And like, so to be honest with you, like, what did he bring? And so what did he bring to the Bills this year? Like nothing but jersey sales. Like, dude had like 200 yards. And that's not his fault because obviously he was hurt, but I am not a big proponent of signing him back. Just let him go hit free agency, have somebody else pay him. So it was a solid half-year rental, but nah, I'm good. I'm good. Let me see. Dan Mitchell, what's good? Chase, I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling fantastic. Have Matthew Golden ran a 4.28, so he was the fastest wide receiver at the combine. Horn Hunter is saying kind of slow after the catch. And Cooper isn't worth the money. Toss JA17 the ball. We are going to have to see. We have Doggo Tron Media, excuse me, says he had 1,000 yards with Joe Flacco. But like, here's the deal. Like, he's going to cost what? Like 17 or $18 million per year. And I promise you that we are not going to be the highest bidder for this guy either. Yeah, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. So he was a good distraction. Exactly. Solid distraction for this team. Solid distraction. But all right, gents, I'll tell you what. And so your boy is going to call it for the evening. I will be live on the AFC East Roundtable a bit later. I sincerely appreciate each and every single one of you for tuning in and showing love. Please smash that like button for me. Say that you haven't had an opportunity of doing so far. Subscribe to the channel for those of you watching the replay. Turn on bell notifications so you can be a part of our live chat community over here. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you a bit later on the AFC East Roundtable. Deuces.